everyone, it's Kari back again with you on the channel to share a fun stencil technique. Today I'm going to be using the Woven Wonder stencil, and this is a fun one to try for backgrounds, for die cuts, all kinds of things. So I hope you will give it a try with the stencils that you have. To start out, I'm going to place the stencil on the background, and I'm just going to use some ink and stencil it like normal. This is just the beginning portion. So I've chosen to start with a light blue ink here. I've got speckled egg distress ink, and I'm just going to ink all over this background. This is a nice light blue. I'm going to keep the colors kind of light for this technique, but I will show you some other ways as well where it's a little bit more loud. So for this one, now look at that beautiful stencil. It's a gorgeous color. Now I'm going to shift the stencil 90 degrees. So just turn it. It's not going to line up with the first stencil we did. And now I'm going to use another light color on this one. This is Evergreen Bough Distress Ink. And I'm going to lightly put that right over the top. Again, it doesn't line up, but it's going to create a really neat design. So take a look at that. We've got the blue and the green, and it's just a fun little look. Different. So this is a 90-degree stencil technique, and I'm going to try a bunch of different colors here today, just to show you some differences. And I've got a darker green here that I'm just going to layer over the background real quick. Again, this is fun. You don't have to go all the way to the edges, and I'll do a few where you don't go all the way to the edges just to add a little bit of something behind your focal centerpiece. But for this one, I'm going to try using a paste with it. So let me wipe off that stencils to get the ink off. I'll turn it 90 degrees, and then I'm going to use this golden glitter paste right over the top. I put a piece of paper behind there because I don't want to accidentally get some of the glitter paste on to my work surface. So I'm just going to spread that out using a palette knife, and then we're going to have this will be a busier look. So I think this would be really great for die cuts, for words, that type of thing, but it is still really fun. So you've got the green in the background, and then you've got the golden glitter on the front, and that will dry a little more glittery. So you'll see that at the end. I'll show you once it's dried. So I'm going to place that aside, and now let's do a bunch of different ideas here. So I'm going to use some mustard seed for this one. It's a nice light yellow, and then I'm going to just continue to do some backgrounds just with the initial stenciling, and that will give me some time to think about what I want to use on top of that. So this is the Salvaged Patina, which is a nice light shade as well. I'll do a pink one. This is Kitsch Flamingo. And now it's time to turn the stencil 90 degrees and use some different ideas over the tops. For this first one, I'm going to use some texture paste. This is the Snow texture paste. It's got a little bit of a light glitter to it. It's really, really subtle, and I think it's going to work great with that pink. This would be really pretty for some holiday cards as well. So again, I'll spread that over the top and then put the rest back in the jar, and I hope you can see this on the video. It might be harder to tell, but that glitter is so light and so pretty. There's a closer look. For this blue one, let's turn it 90 degrees. I'm going to tape it again onto the back using some leftover tape that I've got over there on my desk. I'm going to use some glacier paste on this one. I am just using what I have. So turn to your stash, take a look at some of the pastes and different mixed media items you have, and try this 90-degree stencil technique. Look at how pretty that looks with the light shadow in the background, that glacier paste over the top. For the yellow one, I'm going to do the same thing. I do have a glacier paste in yellow, and it's a really fun color. So again, I'm not going all the way to the edges with this one. I'm kind of leaving a little bit of white around the whole entire perimeter of the panel. So let's take a look at how this one turns out. Just going to clean up some of those edges there. And there you go. Look at that with the nice subtle yellow in the background and then the yellow paste over the top. Here's a look at those panels that we made, and now let's turn a couple of them into cards. And these are really pretty and really fun for die cutting. So I'm going to use this yellow one for our first one, and that blue and green one on the right, I'm going to die cut some leaves from it. I'm using the Rose Artisan Meraki dies here, and look at how pretty those leaves look with a little bit of that texture using the stencil technique. For the main florals, I'll use the Orchid Opulence stamp set and coordinating dies, and this is going to be the focal point here, and I'm also going to use it for the sentiment. It says, "Hey friend," and I think that's really, really cute. Now this was just a little bit wet still, so I'm carefully pulling that off, and then I waited for it to dry and put everything back together again with my design, and now I'll just attach it using some liquid adhesive. So you can attach all of this at once if you want to use some press and seal and pick it all up at the same time. I'm just checking to make sure that I have them in the right spot and adding each of the leaves individually, or each of the stems of leaves. And then the orchids are going to go right over the top and cover up all those stems where they meet in the middle. I added some foam tape to the top of that to help it to pop up just a little bit. And I'm also going to use some foam tape on the sentiment. I like just a little bit of dimension on my cards, and so those are really going to pop just a bit. I'm using some really nice thin foam tape for this one. So there we go, there's our "Hey friend," and now I'm going to use some hot pink cardstock in the background. You can see I've already cut out a sentiment using the center of that. But you're not going to be able to tell because this is just going to be the frame around the entire panel. And now we'll add it to a card base just like so using liquid adhesive. And that's going to be our first card. I'm going to make one more card for you. These really did come together very quickly. It's so fun to make a variety of backgrounds and then use them for some simple cards. So there's our first one with that yellow 90-degree stencil background. I'm adding just a little bit of yellow stickles to the center of the orchids to really help those to pop as well. And here's a closer look at that card. So pretty. All right, so now I wanted to show you that I also cut out the stem of this rosebud, but I decided I wanted to keep that simple and plain and use one of the extra leaves for this one. I cut a scalloped border from my stash to add around as a frame for this one. And this is the pink one with that glittery texture paste in the background. So it's a subtle, beautiful look, very soft and a little bit romantic. So that's why I wanted to build up this little rosebud. And look at this. The happy day looks really great popped up on there, as well as that leaf that we use the stencil technique on as well. So there's a look at both of our cards for today. It's a really fun technique. I hope you'll give it a try. So just take a look through your stencils and through your pastes and mixed media and inks and try this 90 degrees and see what you can come up with. Use it with some die cuts, use it with some backgrounds. It's a really fun one. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I really enjoyed this video, creating it and sharing it with you. I hope you will give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back soon with more crafty inspiration. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.